Now, in this week's Purchase or Pass, we check out the pros and cons of a potential investment property and get the panel's view on whether we would choose to buy or not based on our own personal investing criteria. Now, this week we've got a 2-bed, 1-bath unit in a small block of 4, 7 kilometres from the city and just over a kilometre from the local shops and leisure facilities. The property presents very well and so it'd be perfect for a tenant to move in straight away. Now, it's on the ground floor and the main bedroom opens out onto a covered balcony. Now, the main debate on this one will be that there's no specific allocated parking. It's scattered parking worked on a first in best dressed basis, and there's only 2 spots for the 4 units. So John, I guess the first issue there is aside from the parking, pretty much everything hits the right criteria. It's the right location, it's obviously well presented, nice block of 4, all of those things pretty much they're pretty straightforward, aren't they?
That's very modern today, so the whole unit's looking pretty good in terms of its presentation, and there's air conditioning there obviously as well.
Now, we talk about this parking quite a lot, and there's lots of different types of parking. So it can be on title, it can be not on title, there can be scattered parking, there's no parking. This one's quite different, and so does it really matter? So here we've got 2 spots for the 4 units, but does it really matter if there's 1 spot, 2, 3? If there's no guarantee, does it really matter what your chances are?
I don't think it does. And the other thing that I'd point out about that block of units is that if you look at it, it's an older style and you've got a very large land content for a small block of units. So from my point of view, I would love to actually buy the whole block and not just a little bit of it. And you can also see that you could actually cut into the land to actually create parking both in the front and the back of it. So it allows a lot of development application. I wouldn't be excessively worried about the parking, however.
Yeah, because, I mean, I've seen some places in like Tamarama in Bondi that got the most amazing views, and people have looked at really kind of digging into the ground and building it. It might cost like 200 grand per car park that they're creating, but in those kind of areas it's actually worth spending that kind of money.
That's right.
If you've got a $2 or $3 million apartment.
I mean, and obviously what you've got to do in a situation like this where there is limited car parking is actually look at what the car parking facilities are on street. And if the on-street car parking isn't too bad, well then don't worry.
Yeah. Now, one of the telltale signs for me is I looked up on the internet and I found out it took actually 109 days to sell this unit. So originally they're after 650 plus, then it was advertised for 600 plus. Now they actually sold it for 663, so they got the right price, which is good. But 109 days, to me, that's a big telltale sign that potentially it's either the parking or something else that's not quite right.
Well, I think it's probably a bit of 2 things there. I think it's the parking having some impact on it, but at the same time, I think the mere fact that they had to reduce it, and probably even the 665 or whatever they sold it for, was it 665?
663.
663 is probably still over the top a little bit. And so I think those 2 things have probably influenced the overall outcome that we've got.
So purchase or pass for you?
Well, I think on balance, depending, I didn't see what the off-street parking was like, but on balance, given the poorer parking that's there and the fact that it sold 109 days, I really want something to sell much faster than that. So I'm going to pass on this one.
And look, that was exactly the same thing for me. I think the days it took to sell tells the whole story here. If I'm going to buy an investment property, I want to know that it can be sold in an instant if I needed the cash, and 109 days it's just too long for me, but well done for them for getting the right price. So I'm going to pass as well.
Or better than the right price, I think.
Better than the right price, so yeah, they did well. So that's the thing, is to sell through a very good agency, and that's the key thing. Get the right agent and they can sell anything.